Hello, Jimmy back again after a little hiatus. Sorry I haven't been around for a couple of weeks. I've been taking a bit of a break for some health reasons and other stuff that's been going on. And now that I am back, I figured I would use some nice footage that I took of York last time I was visiting. I am here in a friend's house, not my usual bedroom, and we're going to take a little stroll around one of the best cities in probably the world, I would say, for history nerds like me and you. And I used to live here. I did my master's degree in York, so let's go. York was a Roman legionary fortress on the banks of the river Ouse, and there are still lots of bits of Roman remains here. There's actually a bathhouse that you can visit underneath one of the pubs here. There are some Roman fortifications left over, and one of the best places, I think, to see the Roman fortifications is from inside them. If you go up to the library, and what better excuse, and not that you need an excuse to visit a library, but if you go up to the library and turn left, you find yourself inside one of the last big bits of the Roman fortifications. When the Danes arrived in the 9th century, in the 860s, they actually demolished all of the Roman towers except for one, which is this multi-angular tower. This tower is probably a 4th century addition to the fortifications, and it's the only remaining Roman tower above ground level, and it's fantastic. It's an amazing thing that you can just wander into a Roman tower. Like, where else can you do that just on a regular basis in a park next to the library? Inside the tower there are all of these guys, and they look a little bit like stone sarcophagi, and that's because they are stone sarcophagi. They're medieval sarcophagi from the abbey. There was an abbey here, St Mary's Abbey, in this park, which is called Museum Gardens, because the museum that is here is built on top of the ruins of the abbey. Welcome to York. So we've been into the Roman tower, and if you go to the right hand side, you'll actually see basically the stumps of the Roman wall, the Roman fortification, and there are little bits of this visible just over the other side of the fence that's in front of us. And the sort of tower in front of us is called the Anglian Tower. Nobody's really sure what its purpose was, except maybe to just provide access along the walls. It was probably built in the 7th to 9th centuries, and it's big enough for a sentry to walk through. It definitely had some kind of military purpose. Maybe it was designed originally for archers to stand on it. We don't really know. And that's basically all you can access here, so we're going to turn back around. So we're going to turn around and we're going to look at St Leonard's Hospital. This is a 12th century establishment, and there are also 13th century bits of stone here as well, including the beautiful vaulted ceilings inside here. And this is a hospital in the sense that it was where sick people would come to be treated. It's next to the abbey. It's next to the Minster, which we're not going to talk about because everybody knows about York Minster, and we're here to look at the lesser known stuff. But it's absolutely fantastic. The big stone gable has survived. Nothing survives of the upper floor and the roof, unfortunately, but this sort of undercroft part of it is absolutely gorgeous, and it's well worth a visit, and it's literally next to the library and free to enter. All of this stuff is free to enter. This is literally just a stroll around the city. So let's go from St Leonard's and the Roman Tower over the river Ouse, and not walk along the walls for now. Everybody knows about the walls of York. Most of the walls now are 12th to 14th century. They were repaired during the English Civil War in the 1600s, and then they were repaired again by the Victorians, and now they're a huge tourist draw. It's well worth doing a walk along the walls. It's great fun. But we're going to go to the 10th century church of St Mary. This is St Mary Bishop Hill Jr. It was terribly badly restored inside in the 1860s, really nasty Victorian restoration job. But the oldest part of this building is the tower, which has some Roman stones in it. So this is a 10th century, this is an Anglo-Saxon pre-Norman church with Roman stones in the tower. There are also 11th, 12th and 13th century parts of it. There are 13th century bits inside. It's an amazing building. It's an absolutely beautiful church. I did a play in it once, and it was really good fun. Nobody came, but there we go. Moving on from St Mary's, we are going to go up onto the walls, and we're going to look at Bailey Hill. So when the Normans first arrived in England in 1066, they started building motte and bailey castles. So that is the big lump, which is the motte, and the bailey, which is the castle on top, generally made out of wood, and not the biggest, toughest castles in the world. So this one didn't last particularly long. 1068 York Castle was rebuilt, and then it was refortified in stone after a Danish army turned up and decided that it would be fun to capture the castle. Congratulations, well played. And this is the original site over the river from what became York Castle, which is where we're going to go next. And if you go back over the River Ouse, you get to Clifford's Tower, another really cool, imposing looking building. And this is actually the second site of York Castle. And there was a castle here. There was a castle with a curtain wall and a moat and ditches, effectively up until the 19th century, when they were all demolished and the entire site was remodelled to make a prison. And York Prison was what occupied this entire area, and it's now a museum, the York Castle Museum, York Castle, and the Crown Court is still on this site here. So this has basically been a site of either incarceration or defence for nearly 1,000 years now, which is kind of cool. So this part of York is known as the Eye of York. It's a big circle, it's in the middle of the city, and it's got this sort of circle within a circle thing, is where we do the battles for York Viking Festival every year. And when you do the battle and there are hundreds of people all around you, it feels like a massive battlefield and everybody's here and it's really big and noisy. Coming here in the daytime at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, it definitely doesn't feel as big. It's just a tree in the middle of a little green, but I promise that at the end of February, when we've got a few hundred Vikings shouting and fighting on this, it feels like the most epic film set in the world, and it's great fun. So, we're going to go from the Eye of York, and we're going to go through the city centre towards Hungate, where there was a massive dig and there were loads of Viking artifacts found there. Huge amounts of interesting stuff from the Viking Age have been found. We've got textile remains, we've got wooden remains, we've got bone, we've got leather, we've got metal, we've got wood. We've effectively got every material of artifact you could wish to find in a dig from Hungate. Unfortunately, it was all found prior to the development of the site, so there's now nothing medieval there at all. Except for the 15th century Black Swan, which is an inn, which was originally a house, and it was rebuilt in the 1500s and then again in the 1600s. And it's got loads of that 16th and 17th century stuff left, including this trompe-l'oeil painting in the first floor and an amazing smoking room down on the ground floor. It's now a pub and you can just go in and you can see all of this stuff, and it's proper, like, almost black, dark wood in a medieval building. It is a properly atmospheric place to go. Across the road is this amazing boundary between St Saviour's Parish and St Andrew's Parish, and I just love that this little tiny stone is there with a picture of St Saviour that's not in brilliant condition, but it's there. And going up from that is just a 12th century church, the Church of St Andrew, and it has been a church for a long time, but during the 18th and 19th centuries it had some other slightly dodgier occupations. It was a brothel, it was a stable, and now it is once again a place of worship, but it's just a 900-year-old church just in the middle of a city. There you go. If we go up the road from St Andrew's Church, we get to King's Square, and King's Square was mentioned in the 10th century as Konungsgarður, so it's been here for a while. There was a thought that this was the location of the actual palace of the Danelaw, so the palace of the local leader, Konung meaning king, obviously. We don't really know if that's true, because there was also a medieval church on this site right up until the 1930s, and there are actually still memorials, there are grave slabs that would have been inside the church in the ground here. So if you're walking up King's Square in York, and you're looking at the fun 16th century buildings and the old medieval stuff at the end of the shambles, look down and you'll see the remains of what was once Holy Trinity Church. I'm not entirely sure how old the church was, it was medieval, but bits were being chopped off it at least in the 1700s. And it's not the only church around here that's had bits chopped off it, because we're going down Collier Gate to St Crux Church. Now, St Crux's church is probably the biggest and best of the churches in York that no longer exists. It's mentioned in the Domesday Book. It was given over to St Mary's Abbey, which is the abbey in Museum Gardens, in the 1400s, and Francis Drake called its tower in the 1690s handsome. Which is nice, isn't it? Unfortunately, by the 19th century, despite being gorgeous, I mean, look at it in the 1840s, it was demolished. And in 1888, they built a church hall on the site of it. And this is all that's left of it. Even though there are like some pretty famous people buried in this place right here. Thomas Percy, the 7th Earl of Northumberland. Like, there's 2 Lord Mayors of York buried there, so it's not exactly like an unimportant part of York's history, but it's just been demolished. It's just gone. Despite SPAB, the Society for the Protection of Ancient Buildings, they wanted it saved. It got demolished in the 1880s, so there you go. Very, very sad. And of course, it's just around the corner from the Shambles and Whitmer-Watmergate, but everybody knows about those, so I'm not going to talk about them. So that's kind of my little walk around York. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you guys enjoyed having a little walk around a medieval city with me. I know this is a bit different to what I normally do, but I'm still getting over not feeling 100%, so this is a bit of an easier, lighter video for me to make, so I hope that's okay, and we're going to get back into talking about ridiculous medieval TV shows and Viking stuff really soon. So, thank you once again, diolch yn fawr iawn am ymuno. Thank you so much to my new patrons. You guys are still there, and you guys are being really cool and understanding, and I've just bought a new microphone so I can do some cool audio-exclusive stuff for my patrons over there. Probably going to be looking at starting a short-form podcast of some kind, so keep your ears out for that. I hope you guys will join me next time. Tan tro nesa, till the next time. Hwyl am y tro. Bye for now.
So